All right, everybody. Thank you for joining us this evening, and thank you for your patience. I know we are running just a little bit behind technical difficulties, and the last meeting running just a little bit longer than anticipated. But today is Monday, November 24th, 2025. The time is now 6:12 in the evening. We are here at the Mesilla Town Hall for our regularly scheduled Board of Trustees meeting. The first item on the agenda is Pledge of Allegiance. If you'll please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next item is roll call and determination of a quorum. Laura, if you would please.
Trustee Cadena? Present. Trustee Johnson-Burek? Here. Trustee Nevares?
Present.
Mayor Hernandez?
Present.
Mayor, we have a quorum.
Great. Mayor Pro Tem did tell me that she would not be able to make it to the meeting this evening. So just on that note. Before we do get going on this, I do want to make a statement, and I'll start making the statement as well before every meeting before we begin. As we begin tonight's Board of Trustees meeting, I do ask that everyone keep their remarks professional and respectful. Please direct comments and matters before the board, not toward individual employees or departments. Any personal attacks, targeted statements, or comments that are not appropriate will be redirected. And I do thank everybody for your support in this action, because this does help ensure that we have a productive and very civil meeting. So next item on the agenda is approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Motion on the floor by Trustee Nevares, seconded by Trustee Cadena. And I do have some changes that need to be made to the agenda, and that is on item 6B for the discussion for our 2025 comprehensive plan priorities. I'd like to have that actually removed, and removed because I'm also getting Trustee-elect Garcia's feedback on the priorities as I've received it from you all. So I'd like to include that in all of the prioritizing as you all have presented it, and get that nice and organized by the time I get that from Trustee-elect Garcia. So that would be one of the requests. And I also would like to, under 6 new business item F, for the PZHAC case 062067. I do want to remove that one from the agenda as well. And the only reason why I want to have that one removed is because I did notice a few things in the packet that were missing that need to be added in there, and we'll ensure that we get those added accordingly and appropriately, and ensure that those are taken care of. So we'll have that set.
Which one again, Mayor?
Item F.
F.
And those items will be heard at the next Board of Trustee meeting, unless the board wants to hear them this evening. Otherwise.
Okay. Mayor, may I make a comment on that?
Yes, ma'am.
And I don't, I just wanted to draw your attention to the date on the permit that was provided in front of us. Yeah, December, this one that was just left for us.
Like you said, it was missing that.
Right, and then that's,
Wrong
yeah,
date.
and there, like I said, there's some deficiencies, and
Okay.
I want to ensure that all of the deficiencies are reviewed and corrected appropriately
Okay.
and accordingly. So with that, if there are there any other changes to the agenda as it's been motioned to amend? If there aren't, seeing as there are none, Gloria, if you can roll call vote for approval of the agenda as it has been amended.
Trustee Cadena?
Yes.
Trustee Johnson-Burek?
Yes.
Trustee Nevares.
Yes.
Mayor, the roll call is 3 yeses.
Great. Thank you very much for the approval of the agenda as it has been amended with the removal of item 6B as well as 6F. Next item on the agenda is approval of the consent agenda, which does include the BOT meeting minutes for November 11th, 2025 for our BOT regular meeting. Approval of a purchase requisition for the community center security upgrades completed by Apex Solutions in the amount of $151,778.86. This is from capital outlay finance funding. And then approval of a purchase requisition for copper and lead line testing completed by Cobb Finley in the amount of $23,952.50. This again from capital outlay funding. If I can have a motion on the floor, please.
So moved.
Second.
Motion on the floor by Trustee Johnson Burek, seconded by Trustee Nevares. And if there is no discussion or objection, the motion will carry as it is presented. Thank you very much for approval of the consent agenda that does include the BOT meeting minutes for November 11th, 2025, approval of purchase requisition for community center security upgrades, approval for purchase requisition for copper and line, lead and line testing. Next item on the agenda is public input on the cases. And this is cases being heard this evening. So if there's any input on the cases being heard, if you would step to the podium and state your name for the record.
Hi, Trina Witter. I was happy to see that the overlay zones that were on the previous version of the map had been removed. I'm still concerned about the amount of proposed future commercial along Avenida de Mesilla, and I would encourage you to think about that very hard, and that if you want to prioritize green belt, green space, that you incorporate that along Avenida de Mesilla as well. Because if you're going to allow commercial then and not any residential in there, you're going to be having a lot of competing interests for people trying to get the highest and best use out of the land, which I understand. But if green space is a priority, then we should be valuing the land as it is now. There are some tools like conservation easements, which I think the comprehensive plan addressed that, and cluster subdivision. So I'd encourage you to incorporate that into your new map. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Witter.
Dasha Bausheva. Regarding the comprehensive plan, I am hearing so many rumors and innuendo in town, and it's impossible for us as a town to have a meaningful and fruitful conversation if we don't share the same facts. And so, which is a communication issue. And so I was wondering if it would make sense to send the correct map to all the residents with a brief explanation of what the comprehensive plan is, so that people can see what is actually happening versus what they're hearing. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bausheva. Any other public comment? Seeing as there is none, we will move on to our next item on the agenda, which is number 6, action and consideration, old business, for discussion only, our 2025 comprehensive plan land use map, as it has been updated here. Oh, wrong. If I go the right way, that would help. Try to make it bigger. As it was noted, all and discussed in our last meeting, all overlays as a proposed mixed-use corridor overlays that were noted in the approved plan were removed on here, and that's part of that discussion. There was a little bit of discussion as well as to the commercial corridor and the proposed areas. Those that are in solid colors are those that are already approved, and some of these in the smaller areas, there we go. In here, in these areas are also a solid red in here. Sorry, this one's a little pixelated on that on the screen, but those are the proposed areas in there. As I had mentioned in the previous meeting and before, this was the part of the maps and plans that were approved through the process of the comprehensive plan and working over on the comprehensive plan over the past year. Several public meetings, group work sessions, independent online surveys that were sent out. We had a lot of feedback that was given in, and the planners put in all of the feedback that was put in. And there, I can mention, as I said in the last meeting, that there was definitely some items and areas that were overlooked, especially on this comprehensive plan map. And I'm sure that many of the board members can agree that we all had a hand in overlooking some of that. But with that, that's the whole point of bringing the map forward more than anything, because as I had mentioned in the past, in the 2017 comprehensive plan, we had our current land use map, and then we had 3 different proposed directions that the town could go in, which makes it confusing not only for the staff and for the residents, as well as for the board and the commission on the direction. So in bringing this forward, that was the intent and is still the intent, is to have something that is reviewable, that we can constantly and will constantly review as we move forward with the information as it's being presented, with the potential of this, and it can always be altered and changed in the future as we need it to be. And as we look to the future for any type of other developments. And also, I think it's important to note that my intent, and as well as my team's intent, or our team's intent, I should say, is to also fully update the map and have it updated and visible whenever there is an approved change that does happen to this map. So where you do see something that is hashed, or if there is something that is not hashed that does change, we will update that map and provide that to the public as well, so that way that's visibly there. I know that during our planning sessions and going through all of this, that's where I had asked the planner specifically to delineate the difference between where we are with what has already been approved, and then through our processes, however that comes forward over the past year, in the proposed changes, and to make sure that those areas with the proposed are hashed rather than being left off completely, or as a full solid color. That way it leaves room for us to know the direction that we intended through those public meetings. But as I've said and mentioned already, this is it's a step towards planning. It's nothing set in stone by any means, because every application that comes forward still has to go through the town's ordinances, policies, and procedures before anything is approved or anything is adopted. So this is just suggested ways of moving forward potentially, and looking at that. So I just want to make that note clear and abundant. And of course, we need to get more feedback on this, if there is any other feedback, and what we want to see in this. And we can always change it in the future. And my intent is, once we get the warm and fuzzy feelings with this, we'll bring it forward and have it approved as a map. That way we can, as I've mentioned, as approved. And then I think it's a great idea to, in our next newsletter, especially one that I mail out, I'll include a copy of our previous land use map along with the current and however that may be adopted and move that forward in that sense. Okay. Is there any other, or what other, sorry, trustees, discussion on this specific item?
Go ahead, go right ahead.
You know, I'm glad the overlays are not here anymore, and I gotta apologize if that was, you know, an oversight by, in my head, I had what we discussed and didn't look at the plan close enough to see what it actually, the light purple that was in there. So this is a better rendition of what we talked about, but I still think and it is a draft, and that's why we're discussing it. And as you all know, and everybody knows, is that this is when we hash it out, right? We can only hash it out in meetings because we can't do it any other way. And so it does, you know, so we're going to have different ideas come up. And mine is that I think, and I'm in this position too, is that sometimes there are legal definitions of like a proposed mixed-use corridor overlay, right? There's an actual definition somewhere, and maybe that is part of our problem, is like, I don't know exactly what that definition is, so I would like some of these things that we are proposing to be defined in the text, you know, in written form, so that we understand what each one of these little things means. The other thing I'm concerned about is I am concerned about, because for me, mixed use and trust, that Gaia del Sur, Gaia del Norte, those were not ever discussed as being anything but what they are currently. So I mean, that's not what the map showed. I don't blame people for being up in arms about it, because that's not what ever put on the table as it was presented in this map previously. But that's our responsibility, and I take responsibility for that. But so for the future, I mean, for me, when we were in the discussions, the mixed use would also be part of, to me, that means that when we propose those slash marks, that maybe a proposed future commercial is actually, to me, could be people living and working in the same place, right? To give people flexibility in that area, that there's already, I mean, it's already a commercial lane. We know what's going to happen there. We know that there's traffic. We know there's noise. But people that might want that flexibility of having a home by their business or whatever the case may be. The other one is, here it says proposed parks and open space, but when I look at the map, I don't really see any of that. And I think that we have to distinguish between that and the green belt. I think the green belt, to each of us, again, has a specific definition in our own heads, and maybe we should define it. Green belt is agricultural land, or and we say green spaces, which we want to include in any of these proposals. Like even in the future commercial, for me, I would like to say that we can ensure that we have green spaces in those commercial properties, right? Or mixed use properties. So that we kind of look at it like, we don't want none of us, nobody has ever said we want a big box store or a Starbucks or anything like that. But even a small mercado or something like that, where people have their own businesses, we still want to honor that Mesilla is going to protect green spaces. Whether we want to separate that from the green belt and say green spaces and have a little bit more versatility. I mean, Trustee Nevares, and I don't want to put words into his mouth, but he has always proposed that we coordinate with an NSU who does extensive work in agriculture and alternative green spaces and how we can bring, less water, sucking, I'm sorry, less water use plants and green spaces into our area, right? Because we're going to be facing droughts for a long, long time. So to me, I would like to see us kind of rework this a little bit by having more definitions in there so that the public and us can kind of all be on the same page. Like green belt means this, green spaces means this, mixed use means this. Because otherwise we're going to cause a lot of confusion. So, and I mean, I'm glad that all our residents attended last 2 weeks ago. I mean, it was hard on my heart and my head, but I was so grateful that we heard from everybody because it really brought home that people really want the same things. I mean, all of us run on the same thing. We want to preserve the historic district and we want to preserve the green belt. And it's just a matter of how we do that, right? And how we keep the town prosperous too. Because the only way for us to keep up our standard of living and our comfort and all those kinds of things is to make sure that we have money for infrastructure, which means sewers and sewer lines and water lines and all the things that we need, paved roads, road upgrades, all of it. I mean, Mayor has mentioned many times that sometimes we get money to redo a street, but we don't get money to do anything with the water lines or the sewer lines or something. And then we don't have upgrades, right? We have to go back and destroy what we've already done, and so that we need to be very coordinated and thoughtful about those things. So all I'm saying on this proposed plan is that I would like to, and this came from residents also, that we need to designate that the proposed commercial spaces, maybe we should look at them as mixed use. And also that we incorporate this proposed park and open space also in those areas. Because we don't want people coming in and doing a row of just commercial property, because we want those green spaces. We want people to feel relaxed and like they're in the country, and that they have the same, that the ambiance of Mesilla remains as it is right now. But that's my thought. So I do think that we need to do some more work in even the proposals and the proposed commercial spaces and so forth. But I do think that it's really important, as you said, Mayor, before, that we designate whatever is in the historic district. If it's not designated now as historic commercial, that we do that. And those types of things, update the map to reflect that. Thank you, Mayor. That's what my comments were.
I just have, thank you, just a couple ever since the meeting 2 weeks ago. I've gotten more additional phone calls with concerns from residents regarding the extension of the commercial zone and the mixed use. I think Trustee Cadena brought up a very good point about having definitions, and you're right, certainly too, about the green spaces and the green belt, and yeah, they talked about parks. Everything was put in to the comprehensive plan that was voiced during the community meetings and work sessions. But going back to, getting calls about the extension again, and the concern about the chains coming in. So I'm thinking we need to have an ordinance that protects Mesilla from any sort of chain stores coming in, chain restaurants. And then I went to And also, housing, forgot that part. I went to view the work session from our joint work session with planning and zoning on September 2nd to see, get more clarity and context as to what was discussed, and where things got misled by Site Southwest or whatever was said. But it wasn't there, so you can't access it. So I don't know if that's something that we still have a recording on, because it's not up there to view. And it was even in the minutes with a link. And I tried to go that route and I couldn't, in the planning and zoning minutes, and I couldn't access it with the link. So that's all I have. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Trustee. Trustee Nevada?
Yes, a lot of things have already been said, and Trustee Cadena kind of summed up a lot of important points. I think during the sessions we had on the comprehensive plan, I brought, and Trustee Cadena is correct, I brought up the NMSU, and possibly how could we preserve the agricultural lands by looking at providing ideas to the property owners about how they can incorporate non-traditional types of agriculture, whether it's vertical gardening or other things that that doesn't take a lot of water, because water is an issue. And so before they decide to subdivide and build, and want to subdivide it, that they consider other alternatives. I mean, if we wanted to do preserve that green belt, we need to define it too. What do we mean by it? So it's not just a kind of a theoretical framework, but have something more concrete that this is the green belt. And part of that would be offering ideas or having information that the university could share about alternative methods relating to farming and agriculture, instead of the flood irrigation or the traditional farming methods. So that was the idea there. On some of these areas that there was discussion on that commercial area or proposed commercial, and it is a proposed commercial, looking at that south going toward Union. This is mostly live and work space. And also I remember because there was also a discussion about a walking trail that would be landscape. So there would be green spaces there, preservation. The other item that I think Trustee Johnson-Berg brought up is that do we need to clarify in the ordinance about big box stores and chains, and what we would like to see as far as commercial type ventures within the town of Mesilla. But all of these things we need to further discussion and exploration as to what we can do. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee. Just a couple of comments on this as well, just to touch on that is there, and to try to get a little bit more clarification and direction as well on so that I can provide that to both planning and to staff. So when we think about the commercial zone, so this area in here where they presently are holding, or this is a holding pen for the university project that's going on right now. There are 2 French drains that are being put in along here on the corner, and then a little bit closer to the acequia right now. I think in discussing and thinking about green space and including green space, maybe an avenue is for us to look at those 2 spaces in particular, because I'm sure we'll have an MOU coming forward with DOT to assist with maintenance. But we can look at having those as green space, and maybe even looking at the potential of land acquisition that comes along the frontage road here to create a buffer between residential and anything else that may potentially happen over here. Just as a thought, and putting a thought out there. But we do have those spaces that are here. as well as a space that is over in this area that is those French drains that are larger. That I'm sure that we'll, like I mentioned already, we'll have a MOU and joint maintenance agreements in place for that. So I guess I should speak into the microphone. I apologize about that. The other and then that's just a thought, you know, and an incorporation of this. And if remember that these are all individual lots as such. So there again, as I mentioned already, however, in any of this area that's hashed, it would still have to go through a process. And we do have a part of that process already defined within our code for the commercial zone, as well as for the historic commercial zone. And what is allowed and what is not allowed. So anything already, just as it has been done in the past over in this area, when we changed that over to commercial in there, it needed to conform to our code already. So we have a strong set of codes. I just want to err on the side that in saying, because I don't know and I guess that's a good legal question, where we wouldn't allow franchise or certain commercial businesses in. I don't know how that works, and if that becomes a potential legal implication. Now, where that does come into play is that where we require in the building of whatever gets built or whatever, it conforms specifically to our code, no matter what. So that is the strong part there. So whatever business it is, I mean, we can set the square footage of the size and have that. I do know that what is allowed. So in these overlays, or I should say overlay, because I think of this whole Avenida overlay that comes up and down where we have this joint JPA with the city of Las Cruces for both sides of the street, where we created a corridor. And it is an overlay corridor where all businesses that come in along that corridor have to conform to the standards within that specific overlay along the corridor. I think it's safe to say that we want that to fully extend all the way down if that does move into that direction. So that is the potential. And I just want to throw that out there for further discussion if you all want to have that. Another part that I just want to point out, because it was a part of the discussion in our last meeting as well on this map, is these darker shaded areas, which are the proposed potential for annexation. And it's the darker shade of gray, not any of these other areas in here. So these were in the work sessions and the meetings and from public feedback, these were the areas that from the people that attended, that if we were to look at potential annexation, those would be probably the suggested areas. Now, it could fall outside of that naturally, but I want to really point out that annexation happens in 3 different ways by state statute. And that is, those 3 different ways are where it is a majority of the landholders and owners within a given area form a petition to be brought forward to the municipality to be annexed within the municipality. That is one. The second is that there is a board that is formed by the state to assist with the potential of review of potential properties for annexation. That's a second in there. And the third is where the town or the municipality would go through a process of acquiring property in the form of annexation. I hate to say it like eminent domain, but that's kind of what it is at the end of the day. Not an avenue that we would probably go after by any means. The likelihood of any of those, in my personal opinion, would be from the first set, where it would be a petition that's brought forward by potential residents with the thought of annexing, if they are interested in that. So where we do have these shaded areas, that is where that would be considered at first if we did go, or if those residents in those areas wanted to do that, or however that may be, or maybe it is a plight of the board to say this is what we want to do, and I could do that, or the town, or shouldn't say but we could do that. But that has to be the specific direction of the board in that. So just clarification on annexation and how annexation truly does happen, because these are not, we are going after these. These are proposed through discussion and the potential of that for areas of potential growth. Could fall outside of those bounds as well, depending upon, as I mentioned, how people move forward with that. So we take it into consideration with all the process that's defined through state statute. And we'll look for that joint work session and the access that you didn't have on there, trustee, because that should be posted on the YouTube page. So I'll find out on that for sure. But any further discussion on this?
Yeah, Mayor, I recall, to the best of my recollection, about 9 or 10 years ago, there was a historical community, it made national news, and I even had a newspaper clipping for years. But discussion about big box stores, franchises, chains coming in to Mesilla. And there was a historical community, either Idaho, Washington, somewhere there on the West Coast. Subway wanted to move in and to this historical community. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. That scared me more than anything. Subway, I think it was Subway, wanted to move in and they sued the municipality, and I think the court upheld that even though they had ordinances, again, to the best of my recollection, that Subway was allowed to move in. I just remember that 9 or 10 years ago.
And that's things that we want to look at for sure, especially when we create and work on ordinance specific. Thank you for bringing that up, trustee. I know that we had also, in our green space comments, we'd also, and this also came out along public comment as well, and many of the forums and even forums that I held personally over the past couple of years, is the potential of utilizing the river levee in specific as green space and working with IBWC. While that is not shaded in green, maybe that is a potential of an area that we could be looking at to be shaded in as that proposed parks and open space. And I thought I could have sworn it was at one point, but and I think that's the other part as well, is if there's any other areas within town where we want to see green space or parks and open spaces in specific. Pickleball courts were a big talk throughout, so who knows? Let's continue these discussions, and as we move forward through the years, not necessarily right now, and keeping an eye on what that looks like for the future in that. There any other discussion?
I think as part of the Calle de Norte potential mix-up was that I did talk about us, I have attended a couple of the Rio Grande Trail meetings. And that's a statewide initiative all the way down the Rio Grande corridor. And we have the Bosque State Park. We have part of the Llorona Trail. And so that would make, and I think it would be good for the community to think about, the outdoors tourism, right? People that want to come to the state park to all the trails in Oregon, on the Oregon mountains, those are becoming very popular. I mean, the campground there was the best winter campground in one of the camping magazines. So there, we could bring in, we have to start thinking about that. And if we incorporate a lot of green space, the guy in the north already has a bicycle trail, and a walking trail. And if we hosted people and invited people that were interested in those things, like outdoor recreation, tourism, the hikers, they eat in our restaurants, they stay in our STRs, and they hike the trails all over and probably go to White Sands National Monument, which is a very big deal. That's less than an hour away. I think that is something that we could look at, not only bring in, the retail kinds of tourism, but those types of tourism also. And we could really do something with that, the green space and green belt and those kinds of things.
Great. Thank you, trustee. Other comments, trustees? I think those are great points all along from everybody, and ways to definitely look at all the space and also in the action plans of what we're working on and setting the actions to be for the future. If there is no further discussion, then we'll move on to our next item, item 6C for approval. This is for personal designation for Public Works grounds team. If I can have a motion on this.
So moved.
Second?
Motion on the floor by trustee Johnson Burek, seconded by trustee Cadena. So in our last meeting, we had the applications that we went through and reviewed that were contingent upon a couple of different things going on. And unfortunately, our first applicant didn't work out as planned, hence why we had the backup applicant as well that was suggested. So this personnel designation is for Mr. Devin Guerra to be joining our Public Works grounds team. Is there any questions or discussion? Seeing as there is none, Gloria, if we can get a roll call vote, please.
Trustee Nevares.
Yes.
Trustee Johnson Burek.
Yes.
Trustee Cadena.
Yes.
Mayor, the roll call is 3 yeses.
Great. Thank you very much for the approval of our personnel designation for Mr. Devin Guerra to be joining our Public Works grounds team. And I do want to put a note in there that Mr. Guerra is a resident of the town, so we do have another resident that has joined the team now. Under new business for item 6D for discussion, ongoing projects listing and updates. I didn't have the opportunity, unfortunately, to put everything in my time-wise to put it in the table like I wanted to, but I did provide you with project funding updates. And I will give a copy to Gloria. That way they can be included within the minutes. But just to go through some of these that we have, and I'll run through them real quick. Our CLG application is to be submitted to the state by next week. We are still waiting on a few documents from the planning and zoning commissioners before we're able to submit. So hopefully we get that settled and taken care of, and so we can do that. We are working with DOT for addressing the concerns on the university project that were brought up in our university meeting. And so we will be, as soon as I get the defines on those concerns and how DOT is addressing that, I'll bring that forward. I'm also working with DOT for addressing the concerns at Veterans Park and the accidents that have been happening there. That was brought up in our last MPO meeting as well. By a resident, but also it's already been previously discussed and addressed in there. I do want to note as well that we're working on reconstruction of that area right now as well as ensuring that we have the proper insurance coverage for that. They just reinstalled the lighting post for the meter box that was taken out by the last accident, that actually is not just the lighting that's in the park, it's the lighting that actually goes down the, what would that be, north side of Avenida de Mesilla, on that side. So it's all connected in one. That's why that whole area is still dark. When I worked with the electricians, or myself and Lorenzo worked with the electricians to do that, we were told that it was going to be probably a 6-month time frame before we were able to get that part in for replacement. But they were able to pull from a different project that is actually behind now, or behind, not because of us, but is behind. So they were able to pull from that project to put that in. So hopefully within the next week to week and a half, once the state approves that, we will be getting that El Paso Electric out there and getting that relit. And then Lorenzo's currently working with somebody to redo or get the solid quotes for redoing the ironwork, as well as fixing the concrete that was damaged in that side. We do have a funding application and grant that was submitted for Colonias this last week for a water well in that, and then it was a Colonias emergency application that I had submitted there. We should receive notification by the second week of December if we get funded for that. We did, as I mentioned in the last meeting, we did have funding for our water well, which is the same one for the Colonias application, as well as a fire hydrant replacement program that has gone through Water Trust Board. And those have both been moved forward and moved into the second application process, which will be opening on December 10th. For that, the reason why we went with the Colonias as well is because the Colonias will provide funding within the month of December, versus the Water Trust Board, which we would not get funding until July of next year. So it just gets that taken care of and brought to where it needs to be sooner than later. So exploring all avenues for that. We do have a capital project that for public safety building renovations, which is still underway. Capital project for copper and lead and water line survey being completed, which is an environment department requirement. Thank you for approving that earlier. We do have a capital project happening for security and Wi-Fi upgrades at the community center. Thank you for approval of that project earlier as well, or on that for that designated funding. I do want to note as well in here with those Wi-Fi upgrades in the community center, that in the proposals that were done, it does include larger viewing screens to be put into the not just the main room in the center, but also to have screens that are added to the dining room for our residents in there to be utilized by the residents as part of those upgrades per se. So we're working on hopefully enhancing that all the way around and making it more secure and usable for everybody. We do have a capital purchase for the Marshall's vehicle purchase. We have 2 of those right now, and one is completed, and the other one, we just purchased the vehicle, and it will be outfitted here soon. We do have capital funding for playground equipment, capital funding for our water well and tank, and that is for the planning and design only. That's being completed as we speak. When the Colonias application fully opens up in January, we will be submitting that to get funded with the Colonias application, with your approval, of course, to have that water well and tank. We do have a capital request for commemorative park upgrades, and engineering will be going through and presenting and opening up ideas for that through a public process here soon. We do have capital funding that has been provided as well for road improvements, capital funding that has been provided for signage, which is both monument signs as well as street sign replacement. Capital funding for our town hall complex here, that does include the addition of a cultural space on the south side, as well as an addition of a public safety building on the north side, as it was originally planned by the administration in 2004 and 2007. We did receive capital funding for that to help out with the initial planning and design. Not enough to necessarily cover that, but we are working on making do with what we have. And something that was exciting that did come in last week for our town hall complex as well is that when Congress approved the budget a couple of weeks ago to reopen the government, we did have a funding request that was in that as well. So we did receive notification that we did get $1 million in funding from Congress that will be going towards the town hall complex here and adding the cultural space on the south side of the building. And with that, we will also be submitting a match application as soon as we get the grant guidelines on the Congress or the federal money specifically, because there is federal, the state has the federal matching with monies that are provided there. So we are working with DFA on that and getting that lined out. So if we get the full funding amount and full match of that, should be enough. That $2 million should be enough to actually cover the entire project to add on that whole side. So we should be seeing that within the next couple of months, I hope. So I thought that was great news to be receiving. We do have TPF funding that has been received and previously for our the Norte multi-use path phase 3, which is the lateral extension, which is underway right now on Calle de Norte. Should be done within, and Lorenzo will have probably an update on that, but should be done here fairly soon. And they're making good leeway and progress on that. We do have TPF funding that was also received for our Paisano Road repave and stripe. And in last DOT meeting, we did have our match waiver approved in that meeting as well. So that is a project that is fully taken care of, that we'll be working with engineering to start and get underway here very quickly. Through Clean and Beautiful, we did receive funding for water fountain replacement, 3 total. So 1 for the plaza, 1 for Leones Park, and 1 for Parque de Cura. There's park benches. If you've driven by Veterans Park, you'll see that 2 of those benches have already been replaced, and we will be replacing the other 2 as we start getting the opposite side fully repaired from this last accident. We do have funding that has been provided for raised beds and additional landscaping. Through our Destination Forward grant that we have already received, Parque de Cura is almost done, but not quite there because we still need some landscaping and some additional signage to be completed within that. So we're hoping that by this spring we'll have that completed. We did receive the funding from the NMDOT for the Que Linda program, which is a community cleanup program that will probably be getting underway after the beginning of the year. And then we did get additional funding from NMDOT for our EV charging stations, which we will be getting started at the beginning of the next calendar year. So I'll have this more in a table where we're at with all of these and the percentage of completion in that table as I had for you the last time. And we'll make sure that that's included moving forward in all of the packets. That way you all know additional funding. We are still waiting to hear about in particular for the community improvements, which does include indoor and outdoor equipment for the community center, that being pool tables, ping pong tables, and recreation equipment, if you will, for that, as well as a new coat of paint for the inside of the community center and some ceiling tile replacements within that. So hopefully we hear back on that one. The ones that we were not awarded, but we will continue to try with future applications, is our LGRF or local government road fund application that we had for our Calle de Colon repavement and a traffic study being there, but we will continue for that. A Destination Forward grant for the visitor center improvements. And then we will continue to request for the town hall complex to try to get completed. And so I've been legislators as well as the governor for funding. So hopefully we'll receive some additional funding. I did provide in your packet as well, and I'll touch on it a little bit later, and I'll include it in the minutes as well as a copy for Gloria to be included in there. But a flyer in the presentation, or one pager in the presentation that I made for the COG that was presented to the legislative body, or 9 of our local legislators, with our priorities as well as current funding that they have given us, where we're at with that, and then the specific requests that we'll be looking at for those projects. The top 3 that were listed from the ICIP on there. Now there are other projects in the ICIP that are listed to be going after this year that will be pursued through specific grant funding, unless you all have other direction that you would like to see in that. So open to suggestions as always on any of that funding. The mouthful. Questions or any discussion?
Yeah.
So in the next meeting, as I mentioned, I will put this in a table as I had it before, and have that as a percentage to showing where we're at with these projects, and keep you all abreast and up to date on everything that we have going on. Hopefully checking a lot of these off the list as we move forward, since we do have the funding opportunity. And if there are no questions, I'll move on to the next order of business. The next order of business is new business, also for discussion, item E, discussion for code update and section 8.5 for nuisance and abatement. I will ask Mr. Salazar to come up and give a little background on that.
Good evening, Mayor, Board of Trustees. Yeah, this is a amendment change, proposed amendment change. I did have it for a discussion with the planning and zoning with PZAC tonight, but due to time, we weren't able to get to it. We postponed it. And basically, I'm somewhat familiar. I've worked with what it boils down to is a hearing examiner. Basically, what it is changing the way municipalities go from dealing with code enforcement, from a criminal summons to a civil complaint. They're not the same. Dealing with either one is totally different. A civil complaint is more of a personal level where attorneys get involved, and we're able to work with residents in our community versus imposing fines and jail time and penalties, even misdemeanors, and depending on how many misdemeanors you get, it could lead to felonies. So this is something that we're changing the way we're hoping that now that our municipal court is going to be dissolved. There is a number of municipalities in New Mexico. One of them, this one in particular, that we're trying to mirror, that I think has a fairly well put ordinance, is Edgewood, New Mexico. I've heard them and during our municipal league conferences when we go up there. And this gentleman, his name's Brad. In the past, he had worked with the Attorney General, and they have their own attorneys, and they put together the ordinance that they have. And again, we're trying to somewhat fit to our needs some of their work that they've done, so we don't have to reinvent the wheel. Again, this is just a proposed amendment. There's room for, this is just a very, very rough draft. This is a very, very rough draft of it is going to take a couple of workshops to put this together, I'm thinking. But basically, again, is if you look at the ordinance that is in your packet, the standard is anything in red that's crossed out is something that's being proposed to taken out. Anything that is blue is being proposed to be put in. And a lot of it is just the vocabulary. If you look at our ordinance, and then there are some definitions that we wanted to add. in our ordinance that currently we don't have. In our ordinance, nuisance ordinance is more directed towards weeds, nuisance with noise and such. But there's very little, or maybe other than a very vague statement in our ordinance of how to take care of buildings, right? Dilapidated buildings, buildings that require painting, cracks in the stucco, broken windows, those kinds of things. And again, there's a very vague statement in our ordinance for that. So this also includes some of that. Edgewood's nuisance abatement ordinance really is focused more on that, on structural violations. Again, we're just using or proposing to use only what fits Mesilla and how we can protect our properties, our businesses, and also our historical structures. Court enforcement, basically what happens if there is a violation in court enforcement, we do the basic contact, try to contact the owner, with this lists out a specific details what the court enforcement needs to point out to the person that is in violation, and also a very specific time frame. The defendant or the person of the violation does have an opportunity to appeal the court enforcement violation or citation or such to the Planning and Zoning or PZAC, also to the Board of Trustees. And there is a chain, there is a process through that, and eventually ends up with district court for the final appeal. Generally, a municipality would hire somebody familiar with the hearing examiners. A lot of the times they have backgrounds in legal, maybe a retired community development director from another municipality or such. Typically, they're not part of the staff. They are under contract. What hearing examiner? Hearing examiner would have a hearing similar to what we have here, or a quasi judicial hearing. And then the evidence will be presented to the hearing examiner, and they will make a decision based on the information that's given to them. If they elect to proceed or move forward with the violation, then they also have a time frame. Typically, it's about 10 days to abate the violation. If not, then the defendant or the person of the owner will be guilty in a sense of not abating the violation, and therefore that gives the town an opportunity to abate the violation ourselves, and whatever decision the hearing examiner, along with the commission and the board of trustees, is to go in there and again abate the violation. A lot of the times, if the owner does not cooperate or pay for the cleanup, then there is a lien on their property until that gets taken care of. The municipality has the right to foreclose on that lien. Again, a lot of legal matters that needs to be reviewed on that, but that is a option that a municipality could have. And again, this route is just to get people to comply. That is it. It's not meant to take anybody's property or anybody's rights of any which way. It's just to be able to talk to the defendant and be able to come up with a work plan on how are we going to fix it, because it's been going on. We've been out there. We've been seeing a lot of buildings, a lot of weeds, a lot of inoperable cars, and a lot of times the municipal system with a municipal court is limited because of their rights, civil rights, limited because of the property rights, limited. So that is why sometimes we struggle as court enforcement to be able to remove 10 inoperable cars from somebody's property, because a lot of their civil rights protects them from doing so. And this gives us a little bit more of a window, a little bit more options to be able to deal with those types of situations. Again, it's a very rough draft. There's still a lot of things that need to be addressed. Attorneys got to look at it. But again, just wanted to put it out there so we can just kind of have some feelers of how the commission or the governing board feels about what direction to take. So I'll stand by for any questions.
Trustees.
Just a quick question when I read this over the weekend. So, and you mentioned it, the historical structures. Some of these structures that are in disarray are in the historical residential zone. And obviously the owners, don't have the funds. I mean, so how are we going to?
I think that's a great question, and I just want to touch on that because, and Eddie, you can touch on this as well, but I think that's a big part of why we're going for this CLG certification, so that we can also provide funding alternatives and have the potential to help our residents in a more impactful manner as the municipality in potential grant funding that helps bring homes up to a different standard, or where we can also work internally to help those landowners through a process of knowing what the alternatives are and finding funding, because there's funding out there for a lot of this, just a matter of going after it.
Thank you.
Yes, man, that's my ad. Yes, there is some funding. CLG is probably the reason why we started with CLG, to get some funding for some of these residents, some of these owners, because they do need help, right? Some of these buildings have been there for quite some time, and I don't think they're purposely not cooperating. There's a reason for that. They either get inherited, or they're not living in the area, or they just don't have the funds. I mean, that's just, so again, it's not one of the reasons why I like this process, is because we're not out there trying to seek any criminal complaints, or throw them in jail, or take their homes away. This is more, it gives us a little bit more working space for us, for both of us. Also, not just with the funds, also is to put them in contact with companies or financial companies that are able to get maybe a very small low interest loan, or Aliana's got a couple of them were contacts that she made with help also with historical buildings and those kinds of things. So that's what we were trying to do. Work with them. Maybe we'll just say, if we can just board it up and paint it and stucco it, so the appearance wise it's better than what it is, then we'll do that. That is, nobody, again, I wouldn't feel comfortable doing anything more than just that. It's just, again, this is just to try to help Mesilla facelift, in a sense, if you want to talk about that. Now, weeds, inoperable cars, those kinds of things, I mean, those are a little bit different. Still sometimes fall under, financially not capable of doing so, but there are some organizations that do help some elderly residents. But at the same time, we got to do something with that, and falling back on, we want to be the nice guy all the time. It's hard, because who's going to clean it up? Who's going to do it? So we'll need to talk about that. We'll need to talk about how can we address those, and not being taken advantage of, and say, well, we see it clean their property. Why don't we just tell them the same thing, right? So it's just something we have to balance.
I guess when looking at some of the changes, it really doesn't focus on a person, or the people aspect. It focuses on the property, which
Correct.
is a different way to approach it. The other one is, as you mentioned, it's less punitive and more of a way to try to correct things, which is always a positive thing.
Correct. Yeah, because we're not attacking the person. We just say, this right here is not acceptable. What can we do to get it fixed? And these are options that we can work with you, in a sense. And again, it still needs a lot of work, but I just wanted to. Thank you.
I mean, it's a lot of work, and it's a process, and that's what we need, so that we treat everybody the same. And we have a guideline as to how we approach these different situations, which is true. And I mean, sometimes you just have to put a roof on Adobe. I mean, a covering on Adobe to preserve it, so that it doesn't fall apart. Things like that we can get advice on. What is the best cheap, the most efficient way to save this home without having to totally upgrade it and not even make it livable, but make it presentable.
And that's the part that I really don't, because Edgewood and San Bernardino, they have something similar, but they're very quick to knock them down and clean up the property. And during our New Mexico League training, I'm like, great process, but we're opposite. We don't want to knock any of our buildings down, right? We want to preserve them. So yeah, we'll have to relook at that and see how we can.
I mean, there's just a lot Adobe is very specific, but we have experts
Mhm.
in, within
Community, yeah.
within the community and 200 feet away or whatever, so we can get that, and that would be very helpful. And we can raise funding through historical preservation areas.
And I see, some formatting adjustments and minor things in there that we need to definitely address. But one of the questions that I have for you on this in specific is when we look at like in 81548 for the right of a hearing, and when we look, that's on page 29 in specific, when we look at that, we have that appeal happening to the Planning and Zoning Commission. Why the Planning and Zoning Commission to have an appeal rather than from the hearing examiner rather than going straight to the Board of Trustees, where then if they appeal the Board of Trustees decision, it would be similar to go to district court as it does now.
Correct. And I did see that because one of the very first thing when I was speaking with the mayor is whenever we have a hearing, whenever we get to the point we have a hearing, it's not a P&Z land use issue. It's the board governing board. And so the hearing will be held with the Board of Trustees. Now, the reason why it goes to the planning and zoning is just depending on what the case is, depending what you always want it reviewed by who the experts are. Either it's going to be planning, maybe the wording is wrong, but maybe it should be the planning and zoning, maybe it should be by the fire chief, or maybe it could be CID, depending on what agency or what commission needs to be reviewed. Typically, it always falls back to P&Z, and it was always the same process. And from there, it goes to the Board of Trustees. But again, the commission, the PZAC, is not versed in anything other than land use. Right, so we start talking about enforcement and stuff like that. I don't think that it's a position that we would be comfortable with dealing with those things. But if it's
that's I think we need to review that and specifically say that when those cases that are appealed from the applicant from the hearing examiner is specific to chapter
1833,
17, the ones that planning and zoning specifically deals with.
okay,
That are applicable to our ordinances, and then those that are outside of that are weeds and those that are parking violations, things like that. Those are I wouldn't want to inundate planning and zoning with having to hear something that's not respected to what they would be having. So I think that in that potential for an appeal, because I'm not saying that an appeal would happen, but in the potential for that appeal, we want to make sure that goes before the correct board, and that probably needs to be fully defined as such, as you've already mentioned, and maybe it's specific sections of the code, if they are applied in such that is the direction that would go.
got it.
So as we're reviewing this and moving forward in the future discussions, let's look at those alternative adjustments being made there too. Trustees, any other discussion?
Thank
Thank you, Mr. Salvo. Moving on to our next agenda item, item 6G, approval for PZHAC case 062071, 2319 Calle de Santiago, submitted by the Fancy Pony Beauty and Boutique, requesting approval for installation of a projecting sign in the historic commercial zone.
So moved.
Second.
Motion on the floor by Trustee Johnson Burek, seconded by Trustee Cadena. I do want to note on these two cases that we have from planning and zoning, because it's not typical that we have a planning and zoning meeting that does occur right before our Board of Trustee meeting. I think we've had that happen once in the past. And I just want to note on here is that planning and zoning was supposed to have their meeting last week. But unfortunately, one staff member the previous week was on vacation, returning from vacation to run the planning and zoning meeting, but was definitely too sick to be working and to be in the building. And then the other staff member that would be helping in running the meeting was also on vacation at that time. As the one coming in back from vacation, the other one was going on vacation. So that's where that came, that we had to have a special meeting and meeting the requirements of the posting. That's where that the meeting could either be fully postponed until the first meeting in December for the applicants, or be heard as a special meeting as it was today. I did include the cases in the agenda pending approval of the Planning and Zoning Commission, as well as review of that. Hence why there was one case that we did have removed on them. So with that, I just want to open that as part of that discussion on the why. This is not a practice that we will be doing by any means, and will not be the moving forward. But concerning the businesses in particular, who have already been waiting a little over a month through the process to get their business open and going, we want to be fair to them as well, and those applicants. And Mr. Salazar, I'll turn it over to you.
Yes, this is, as the mayor was mentioning, it was unexpected. I mean, I was on vacation. Honestly, I was on my deer hunt. It was something that needed, it was being planned for a long time ago, since last year. My son's on the way to the military first of the year, and that's the last time I ever spent some time with him. But either way, Miss Liana was getting ready. She was ready to go. I mean, unfortunately, she got sick before when she got here. So it's something that I don't think she planned or had any control over. And in lieu of that happening, these applicants, I'm very sensitive to the time that they put in their applications in, and it's been sitting, the process itself, it's already sometimes takes 2 or 3 weeks, and to postpone another one, I think it was asking a little bit too much for the applicants to wait. Anywho, that's why we decided to put it before the meeting, even though it was a little bit of juggling there. This one right here is 062071. It's one of two signs from the business owner. The application for the business was approved in the previous meeting with the PZAC. So that was issued. This is two applications. Again, this is one of two for some of the signage that they already hung and already posted on their building. Reviewing this with the PZAC, I did bring that up. The applicant was present during that time. Did apologize. Was not aware that a separate signage application was required, and therefore she was asked to submit these. The signs themselves are in the position or in the location where the previous business was. The sizes and the shape of the sizes are very similar to the other ones. So whenever we review these, we review them in the sense of to where does it meet the design standard, the location, and the location and design standard, and both applications were approved, both signs were approved with the condition that the address to that location, there's a discrepancy with Google and Doña Ana County and whatever it's in the location itself. So I mean, it's more of a location that I need to follow up on. I always go off of legal addresses, which is Doña Ana County legal addresses, but a lot of times Doña Ana does not have legal address to where I have to issue one. A lot of time I need to get a hold of the owner and then square that away. So it was approved with the condition that the address of the business and this is addressed to me, be consistent with all agencies, not just Google. The other one is it was brought to my attention that there is a third sign that is from this new business in the corner by Silver Assets, a smaller sign, and I will be contacting them along with codes to be able to address that there only these two signs were approved, and these two signs are the only ones that are allowed. And I'll stand by for any questions.
Mayor, so following up on that third sign, you will advise them of the ordinance that they can only display two signs.
Correct.
They have to approve.
Correct. Well, I will get with codes, and if code needs my assistance, I'll go out there with them. But yes, definitely, only 2 signs are allowed.
Thank you, Mr. Salazar. Trustees, any other questions or comments? Seeing as there are none, a motion on the floor by Trustee Johnson Burek, seconded by Trustee Cadena. Gloria, if you can roll call vote, please.
Trustee Johnson Burek. Yes. Trustee Nevares.
Yes.
Trustee Cadena. Yes. Mayor, the roll call is 3 yes.
Thank you very much for approval of PZHAC case 062071. Next item on the agenda, 6H, approval of PZHAC case 062072. For 2319 Calle de Santiago, submitted by the Fancy Pony Beauty and Boutique, requesting approval to install a wall sign in the historic commercial zone. We can have a motion on the
So
floor.
moved.
Second.
Motion on the floor by Trustee Nevares, seconded by Trustee Johnson Burek. And I'll open the floor for any questions.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, this is what 2 of the other sign we just finished discussing.
Sign that we discussed.
Trustees, do you have any questions or concerns? Seeing as there are none, Gloria, if you can roll call vote, please.
Trustee Nevares.
Yes.
Trustee Cadena.
Yes.
Trustee Johnson Burek.
Yes.
Mayor, the roll call is 3 yes.
Thank you very much for approval of PZHAC case 062072. Next item on the agenda is approval of resolution 2025-68 for budget adjustments.
So
Second.
moved.
Second.
Motion on the floor by Trustee Johnson Burek, second by Trustee Cadena. And I will open it up for discussion. And Gloria, you can give background on it if you want. Yep.
Mayor, trustee, these, it clearly reads there that they're for the new grants that we're getting. And we do have notice of acknowledgement that we have received the funding. So we're putting it into our budget so that we're not, dealing with a negative in there. Okay?
Okay.
Some of them are reimbursement grants, so we'll pay it front and then they'll reimburse us. So, does anybody have any questions? Thank you.
Trustees, any questions? Motion on the floor by Trustee Johnson Burek, second by Trustee Cadena. And Gloria, if we can get a roll call vote, please.
Trustee Johnson Burek.
Yes.
Trustee Cadena.
Yes.
Trustee Nevares.
Yes.
Mayor, the roll call is 3 yes.
Thank you very much for approval of resolution 2025-68 for budget adjustments. Next item on the agenda is approval of resolution 2025-69 for our CLG code amendments.
So moved.
Second.
Motion on the floor by Trustee Johnson Burek, seconded by Trustee Nevares. And I will open it up for discussion. This is just the formal resolution for the Board of Trustees from the approval at the last meeting of the recommendation from the Planning and Zoning Commission. Is there any discussion? Motion on the floor by Trustee Johnson Burek, seconded by Trustee Nevares. Gloria, if you can roll call vote, please.
Trustee Johnson Burek.
Yes.
Trustee Nevares.
Yes.
Trustee Cadena.
Yes.
Mayor, the roll call is 3 yes.
Thank you very much for approval of resolution 2025-69 for our CLG code amendment. Next item on the agenda is approval of resolution 2025-70, amendment to the zoning map for a rezone of the property located at 2886 Snow Road, parcel number 4005139210015.
So moved.
Second.
Motion on the floor by Trustee Johnson Burek, second by Trustee Cadena. This is just the resolution for from the last meeting as well for the Board of Trustees with the recommendation from Planning and Zoning. Is there any discussion?
No.
Seeing as there is none, Gloria, if we can have roll call vote, please.
Trustee Johnson Burek.
No.
Trustee Cadena.
Yes.
Trustee Nevares.
Yes.
Mayor, the roll call is 2 yeses and 1 no.
Great, thank you very much on that approval of resolution 2025-70 for the amendment to the zoning map for the rezone of property at 2886 Snow Road. Next item on the agenda is approval of Verizon Connect vehicle tracking and asset management.
So moved.
Second.
Motion on the floor by Trustee Johnson Burek, seconded by Trustee Cadena. This here is just to open it up, and I've provided the quote in your packet in there. I've been reviewing this and looking at it over the past month, and then I think in the last meeting it was solidified a little bit more on that. But what this is, as it mentions here, is a vehicle tracking device, an asset management tool that is provided by Verizon. It would be going on to all of our town vehicles that we have. So our admin vehicles, the public works vehicles, the marshal's department vehicles, and then the not the fire apparatuses or or the ambulances, but the other specific work related vehicles for the fire department. So we're looking at 20 total vehicles in here with the subscription. It is a monthly, and then the two powered assets is for our utility vehicles that we have, that being the side by side, or the two side by sides, I should say, in that, uh, and having that. With this, it does have a cost of an increased cost of $400 or $405 a month on average for the total. So a little under $4,000, or sorry, a little under $5,000 a year for this asset management. Why I'm asking for your approval on this one in specific is because it ties directly into the vehicle, and it shows literally where we can drive down on where the vehicles are at, how they're being used, where they've gone historically. It also shows the driver usage in there. So if they're speeding, it will send a text message notification to the supervisor or to myself or designated personnel if they are using the vehicle in a harsher manner per se. You know, the rapid acceleration or harsh stops. It takes note of that and does that. There, in the asset management side, it also goes through in the detail of where we'll be able to provide our deputy clerk, who's tracking everything through a Excel spreadsheet right now. Give her the ability to track any type of maintenance that's going on, scheduling the maintenance and making sure that that's all happening accordingly and appropriately. And it also, in the asset management, will give us the opportunity to really review the full life of the vehicle and with planning for asset management and replacement of vehicles as we move forward, and the correct disposition of those vehicles. So that's that in a nutshell. Any questions?
Just a comment, Mayor, I am very grateful and thankful to finally have something back in our vehicles such as this. So thank you.
I think it'll help out a lot, and it'll also give our departments the opportunity to if not on a monthly basis, on a quarterly basis, kind of show where and when, and it also gives us the opportunity to drive down on concerns whenever concerns are brought up. So it's a great thing at the end of the day. Trustees, any other questions? Bless you.
No, it's going to be a positive step also regarding staff time if it enhances that part too. So
Definitely. All right. If there aren't any other questions, then motion on the floor for approval by Trustee Johnson Burek, seconded by Trustee Cadena. Gloria, if we can have a roll call vote, please.
Trustee Cadena,
Yes.
trustee Johnson Burr,
Yes.
trustee Nevares.
yes,
Mayor, the roll call is 3 yes.
Thank you very much for approval of the Verizon Connect vehicle tracking and asset management. Next item on the agenda is public input, where the public is invited to address the board for any other matters that you may want to address on. If you would step to the podium and state your name for the record.
Hello, Board of Trustees, Mary Helen Ritchie. I just wanted to thank all of you for the tremendous support for the opening of the Taylor Messia Historic Site. my beloved home. And it was a wonderful weekend. Public Works, everybody that supported that event. The family really appreciated it. And we had approximately between 600 and 700 visitors that weekend to the site. The site is now open as far as tours, Wednesday through Sunday. And you can go to newmexicohistoricsites.org to get tickets and go through the home. Also at Christmas time, the Nacimiento Tour, which is part of our family agreement, will be starting December 10th, running through January 4th, I believe. And there are over 200 Nacimientos in the home on display. So thank all of you for attending. I saw you all at one event or the other, and we're just keeping it going. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Raichi. Other public comment?
Estrada. And people used to walk on Estrada Road. They would go for walks, they would walk their dogs, they would ride their bicycles. All of that has stopped because of one homeowner with dogs that are not leashed and not contained. And this has been going on for a long time. I have let animal control know. I have been speaking to Marshal's office. I know Mr. Estrada has been cited. I also know he has serious health issues that he's dealing with. But the dogs have claimed the road as their territory. They are expanding the territory. There's 4 of them. They are now down Calle del Sur and all the way to Oeste. They will not get out of the road. I'm afraid something will happen to them, that they might get run over. And also, I personally feel trapped. I had an injury and couldn't drive over a month, and my only way to town is by his house. But I could not go that way because the dogs they surround me, they bark at me, and it's impossible to get through. I've watched other people, in the same situation. So I don't know what can be done. I heard there will be a court case, but months keep flying by and nothing is happening. I know of at least one other area in town where there are loose dogs that will pursue you if you go down that road. So, what can be done? Is there anything else I should be doing? Ed has gone on for probably a year and it keeps getting worse, so please help. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bashva.
Veronica Garcia, I'm really glad that the GPS approved. Best decision ever. Second, Councilman Burke, I'm so sorry for your loss. If you don't know, Chris Alexander's son passed away, which happened to be Trustee Johnson Burke's cousin. So I'm sorry for your loss.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Garcia. Any other public comment? Seeing as there is none, we'll move forward. Next item on the agenda is Board of Trustee Committee and Liaison Reports. We'll start with Trustee Nevares.
Yes, I attended the last meeting of the South Central Regional Transit District, which wasn't a long meeting. It was basically for a budget adjustment, but that was the only, I think, as I recall, the only item on the agenda. And it passed. So.
Thank you, sir. Trustee Johnson Bjork.
Um, Thank you, trustee. Soon to be trustee Garcia. Thank you. I appreciate that. So we had our MPO meeting on Wednesday, November 12th. Almost didn't have it. It
Right.
was there was only 5 of us present. Commissioner Sanchez called in from California so we could make quorum, but the mayor and I were there, and the mayor chaired it. Probably the most significant thing that I'm going to mention is that we did discuss we had the target safety presentation, and that to me is so important, even though the data is 2 years behind, and that's again what's been brought up before, the way it's gathered. But it was so informative. It always is. And it is on the MPO website. So I would encourage residents to go on the MPO website and read the presentation and see all the information that was presented. And thank you to Miss Witter, our resident, for showing up as well. So thank you. That's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you, Trustee. Trustee Cadena.
I did attend the Taylor Messia Historic Site meeting, which is always interesting, which, got had a lot of positive feedback from the opening, and we'll be having another meeting in December. I think there's been a lot of visitors into the site, and there's been a lot of visitors into the Barela store, and that is really good. People are really excited, and we need to be spreading the word that the historic site is open and functioning, and that it's beautiful, and that everybody should see it and come to Mesilla for it. That's all I have.
Thank you, Trustee. As Trustee Johnson Bjork mentioned, we did have the Mesilla Valley MPO board meeting with some great information in there. I also had the South Central Council of Governments Legislative Forum, which I had mentioned earlier, presenting our capital outlay projects, which has been presented here. 9 local legislators in attendance, including one of ours for our district was there. The other one, unfortunately, was not. I did have an MPO executive meeting as well, discussing some of the items and potential updates to policies and procedures that will be brought forward to the governing board as well. And then I did attend a New Mexico Department of Transportation district meeting in Sunland Park. That is their quarterly district meeting that they hold around the state, and it was being held in Sunland Park, giving updates on that on the specific DOT districts throughout the state. We are in District 1, for those of you that do not know that. And District 1 encompasses Doñana, parts of Sierra County, and then parts of Luna County as well. With that, it's a large area for the NMDOT District 1. But there were some awards and recognitions that were given out by the cabinet secretary, as well as the districts, or because the DOT is led by a commission, and the commissioners also shared in celebrating many awards that were given to District 1 in particular. So some good things happening in our district and in our area by DOT. And just to share some of that. There's a lot of different projects, and they're all available for view on DOT's website in particular, and looking at potential funding sources in the future as well. So good connections all the way around and good meetings. Next item on the agenda is Board of Trustee and staff comments. I will turn it over to Sergeant for the Marshal's Department. And did you want to do presentation tonight? Yep. Sorry, I kicked it off preemptively. Just a minute to get it back up. And it's your PowerPoint, right? The one you have right here.
No, yes.
And so Sergeant did put together this presentation, but unfortunately it did not make it into a point of being a presentation for the agenda item. So I did ask if she would have it to do during the comments here, and that way you can still touch on the basis of everything there.
And I'll try to be quick. I know it's been a long night for everyone, so I'll answer questions at the end, and that way everybody can get through the presentation. And I just got my voice back. I did have the moonstruck no longer out, but just hopefully everybody is healthy, and I am sorry to hear about your loss. Just be very
Thank you.
tough time around the seasons. So, good evening, Mayor, Board of Trustees, and members of the public. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to present an overview of the Mississippi Marshal's Office activities for October and November 2025. As we come towards the end of the year, and going into December of 2025, the events I'll go over going towards the end of the year as well. And tonight's presentation highlights the work of our deputies, our command staff, and SROs in our codes division, CSI interns, and complete daily and often behind the scenes to keep Mesilla safe, connected, and supported. So tonight I want to show transparency and answer concerns brought forward by citizens and provide clear understanding of what our department does every single day, even with limited staffing, limited funding, and outdated systems compared to larger agencies. And I'm glad that shows on, because I know some of the words are small, but it's basically everything I just covered. And as I go along, that's what the slides will show. I'll have some photos at the end of some of the great things our deputies have done throughout the year.
Just tell me next slide, and I'll go to the next. Okay.
In Mesilla, deputies wear multiple hats. They conduct traffic enforcement, community policing, criminal investigations, including court-secret felonies, write their own criminal complaints and warrants, handle follow-ups, attend court, respond to calls for service, and still maintain community engagement. Unlike most agencies, there is no detective pay incentive, no specialty pay, and no differential for nights or graveyards. Deputies here do the same level of investigative work as larger agencies, but without the additional pay or staffing support. We assist multiple agencies outside to include DASWEL, CPD, New Mexico State Police, and MSU, who also assist us when needed on crashes to include fatalities, and we handle community complaints with different aspects of community policing. And so this kind of explains our command staff and responsibilities. We are a small department. Our command staff, Marshal Escarate, Lieutenant Diaz, CID Sergeant Garcia, and myself as Patrol Sergeant work together to manage the full administrative and operational needs of the department. We divide responsibilities across patrol operations, CID training, the CSI and internship programs, policy implementation, equipment management, and day-to-day supervision. As a team, we review reports, body camera footage, handle use of force investigations, internal affairs, if a request, training compliance, scheduling, and attend meetings on behalf of Marshal when needed. It is important to note that Lieutenant Diaz works day shift patrol, and unlike most agencies, even small ones, he does not receive dedicated administrative hours. Despite this, he still completes all required administrative duties on top of patrol responsibilities. All command staff members also step in to cover shifts when manpower is short, which occurred frequently last month as I covered graveyard shifts from 1800 to 0600 hours, 12-hour shifts until we were able to hire. Even with these challenges, the administrative workload is completed, ensuring the department continues to function efficiently and transparently. I did apply for a grant a couple months back. In October, we received approval for the fiscal year 25 COPS Hiring Grant Award, a federal grant totaling $125,100. This is a major accomplishment for a small agency like ours. However, federal grants require a 3-year match, and at this moment, we cannot guarantee that the town can meet those match obligations. Because of that, we responsibly requested an extension before accepting the award. As the grant manager, I want to ensure we never accept funding we cannot maintain or afford to match, especially because federal funds must be repaid if requirements are not met. Balancing grant management with shift coverage and supervisory duties has been a challenge, but we continue working to find the best path forward for the town. Typically outside, grant managers are contracted and paid to manage such grants. So this is a grant that I had to request an extension for, and we'll be reviewing with the board of trustees once we are able to do so. And next one. And as I had mentioned, resource limitations. Unlike larger agencies, we do not have CAD, the computer-aided dispatch system that automatically logs calls, pulls data, drafts reports, and integrates with evidence and body camera AI. We do not have those things, but other larger agencies do. And the reason I mention this is we rely on eForce, which requires our deputies to manually enter almost everything. Although it saves the town money, it increases deputy time spent on administrative tasks. Our shared county-wide radio also makes it unrealistic to call out every proactive patrol. Instead, deputies document frequent patrols in their end of shift logs. These logs are constant activity, and we are proactive, not just reactive. And these are emailed to all their supervisors at the end of their shifts. So at the end of the month, we receive a catalog from dispatch showing our calls for service snapshot. So I will not get November's until the end of November, going into December. So I have October 2025 calls for service snapshot. Here you'll see October call breakdown. This number represents the calls dispatched through the regional system and does not include proactive activities such as frequent patrols, foot patrols, walkthrough, business checks, and community contacts and engagements. Because we operate on a shared countywide radio system, a large portion of our deputies' daily workload is not captured in dispatch-generated call counts. Our October numbers reflect reactive calls only, not the extensive proactive policing our team performs on every shift. And to kind of just plain English, our dispatch will log things onto their system, but it can't be fully tracked as a call because we cannot enter it ourselves because we do not have that system. So this would just show a percentage of the calls as far as what our actual community engagements and interactions and stopping out with the community, talking with them is not something we're gonna tie up the radio for. But those are also things that are considered when it comes to community policing. So those are things I would like everyone to take into consideration that our deputies do because I monitor their cameras and review body cam footage, and when interacting with the public, they do have to have their cameras on. So I do see that community engagement is going on by all of our deputies. And just something to go off that, our Proactive patrols often prevent crime and address problems before they become calls for service. And visitors repeatedly do comment on how safe they feel in Mesilla. I've had people come into Mesilla that live in Las Cruces and say that and to be politically correct, the unhoused that are across the street to us on Amador, there is a very big problem with that, and they don't see it as much in Mesilla. And I do get constant positive feedback from the community saying they feel safe coming down to market, on Saturdays when they come down to the plaza and to visit the shops. Families come down and we see them out here because they feel safe to come down to Mesilla. And just to highlight some of the great things that our department is doing, from November 17th through November 20th, our training unit hosted a multi-day forensic death investigation course with attendance from agencies across New Mexico and Texas. This included Las Cruces Police Department, Doña Ana County Sheriff's Department, Sunland Park PD, Eddy County Sheriff's Office, the Attorney General's Office, CSI units, crime analysts, and a lot more. And these are some photos from that training that was hosted here in Mesilla at the Mesilla Community Center. And to have that kind of multi-agency training brings great networking to not just our department, but also to the town. It was great to have the sheriff's department from El Paso come down and ask, where's good to go eat? And, then it brings tourism to our town too as well. And they were very happy with how the training went and hope that we get to put on more trainings like this because we are, again, very lucky to have very experienced deputies and detectives on our team that have years of experience, such as Danny Garcia, which I know a lot of you had asked how he was doing. He is back healthy, and as you can see there in the photo that was recent, and he's able to stand and teach. And I know a lot of you guys had asked me about him, so he is doing a lot better. So thank you for the concern. When it comes to our CSI program, I know there's a lot of questions, so I'm happy to kind of give you all here basic understanding. We have also taught basic crime scene investigation to students from Doña Ana County Community Center and Arrowhead Early College, as well as personnel from surrounding agencies. These students earned New Mexico DPS accredited certifications, and several will continue training with our crime scene unit. This is the first time the Mesilla Marshal's Office has partnered with the Doña Ana County Community Center and Arrowhead Early College at this level, and it strengthens our community pipeline for future law enforcement professionals. Just when it comes to our deputies and also all law enforcement are required to take 40 hours of 5 a.m. training to maintain their law enforcement certification. This is a requirement by New Mexico DPS, and all our deputies are certified and up to date with their New Mexico certifications. And we ensure that, unlike larger agencies that provide in-house academy days, our deputies complete these trainings online on their own time while balancing calls. So keep in mind, this saves the town money rather than paying for the or paying for the overtime for our deputies to come in trainings. During sick season and extreme weather, deputies may still be ill and are instructed to remain stationary when appropriate for safety reasons, both for themselves and the public. There's other intel collected while stationary and follow-ups and training conducted when stationary. Because we take these precautions, the rate is significantly lower than surrounding agencies. So please keep those things in mind. I did want to share some officer safety when it comes to roadside risk and report writing. Nationwide data shows officers are often injured or killed while sitting roadside doing paperwork. FOP data in 2025, so this is very recent, which is the Fraternal Order of Police, 56 officers were ambushed. Study shows from 2010 to 2016, 20% of ambushed officers were inside their patrol vehicles. NHTSA in 2022 shows 35 officers died in crashes, 16 of them struck by vehicles while roadside. So our proactive approach. Deputies are encouraged to complete lengthy reports at the station, not roadside. Our central location in Mesilla ensures quick response times. Calls for service are always prioritized to significantly fewer agency vehicles. When it comes to community outreach and visibility, our active community presence, deputies attend community meetings and events across Doña Ana County and Las Cruces, building partnerships in education. Examples include speaking at Veterans Day events, school presentations, and career days. This strengthens partnerships. And I really encourage everyone to please follow our digital, to be digitally engaged with the Mesilla Marshal's Office. Our Facebook page keeps citizens informed, and anyone can follow to see our work and community involvement. So as much as I would love to do these presentations every monthly meeting or every 2 weeks, it does take time away from me also being out there on the streets and the presentation itself, but we do offer this on our digital Facebook page, so you can stay informed of what's going on throughout our department and our different community events. And for those of you who have questions, sometimes our school resource officers who maintain their vehicles parked outside the schools. I'm trying to skip over some parts because I don't want to keep everyone here all night. So when it comes to our school resource officers and understanding why our school resource officers remain at the schools, the Mesilla Marshal's Office currently has 2 full-time school resource officers. That's Deputy Bolston and Deputy Cogdell. Both of them are assigned to Las Cruces Public Schools, which are within our Mesilla community, Mesilla Middle School and Rio Grande Preparatory Institute. Their positions are funded entirely by Las Cruces Public Schools, a formal MOU agreement between the school district and our agency, which means that Las Cruces Public Schools pays their salaries for both the SROs. So Las Cruces Public Schools will only authorize the SROs to leave campus for court training or sick leave. In return, those SROs do remain at the schools during those school hours to fulfill duties outlined in the contract. Because of this, pulling SROs away for prisoner transports, routine calls for service, patrol coverage, or non-school related duties is not allowed. Doing so would be a direct violation of our contract, which would result in us having to pay back that funding. This is why it's essential that our SROs do remain at the schools, and not only for contract compliance, but to ensure student safety, which I know a lot of you in this community have children that go to these schools. It's built positive relationships with the youth, and we are able to respond immediately to any school-related emergency, which in this day and age we see sadly increasing. For community members who may see Mesilla Marshal's Office vehicles parked at or near the schools, please know this is normal and expected. Those deputies are working in their assigned school resource officer capacity and are not available for routine patrol duties. This also highlights the ongoing need for the town to eventually fund a full-time day shift patrol deputy rather than relying on a split admin or day shift position. Until that can be afforded, the SROs cannot be used to fill those patrol gaps. Our goal is transparency, safety, and responsible use of resources entrusted to us. If you have questions about school resource officer roles or the agreement with Las Cruces Public Schools, we're always available at the station. You can reach us through the non-emergency number, which I'll provide at the end of the slideshow. And we are happy to meet with anyone from the community. And we do offer complete transparency when it comes to our department. And this just highlights some of what I just spoke about when it comes to the school resource officers. It's, oh yes, okay. So fun part, I guess, for everybody, if you are interested, ride-alongs and public understanding. We encourage our community members to schedule ride-along. And also, we'll inform you about citizens academies such as Las Cruces Police Department who offers further understanding of regional law enforcement work. Behind the scenes, unseen work, many tasks, reports, trainings, investigations happen inside the station and are not visible from the street. Deputies are not idle. They're doing unseen work that keeps Messiah safe. Our goal is for citizens to see the effort behind every call and every case, and I'd be happy to have any of you ride along with me. If there is paperwork that you have to fill out and do background checks, and you will be able to schedule a ride along with us and just come by our station and we can provide that paperwork to you. And upcoming December community events, Shop with the Cop will be December 13th, 2025 at Walmart in Riconada. The J.R. Stewart Foundation Shop with the Cop, we're still pending the date and time for that. The toy run, the annual toy run, we're pending a date and time for that. Our advanced CSI training scheduled for mid-December 2025. And we also have a 5K coming up December 6th. I didn't get to add it onto the PowerPoint, but it'll be Saturday, December 6th. It's for this Super Dash from 09 to 1100 hours. And it is starting off at the Messiah Plaza, and we do tend to close the roads down about 15, 20 minutes before the race starts. So just be aware of that. And we do put it out again on those Facebook, on our Facebook page, and we communicate that to the town as well. That's just to show we got our grant approved. This is what our Facebook page looks like in case you haven't seen it. You press follow and you can get updates on what Mr. Marshall's office is doing. And this is some of the updates that have been posted on there. And we go into detail on what we're doing. It is all about transparency and showing our community what we're doing with our department. And I did want to wish a farewell to retired Deputy Lopez. We did organize a little going away there at the station because we do value, we value all of our deputies that work with us, not just the ones currently, but past deputies, and we value the time that they give this community, and we always like to show that. These are just some photos from the Veterans Day Parade. Myself and Deputy Boston are both veterans, and we participated in this year's Veterans Day Parade, as well as our ASEAN Codes Enforcement was out there. I was asked to speak at a Veterans Day presentation, and Zia Middle School also recognized our school resource officer on Veterans Day. These are just some photos from the year from the fiesta. And all the great things we're out there doing with our community. And that's our marshals out there who volunteered. And end of the year award ceremony, we did have an end of the year award ceremony where our interns and our deputies are recognized, and some of the town staff and employees that help also keep our department going. This was National Night Out. We are hoping to see about bringing something like that here into Messiah. And this was out in downtown Las Cruces, where several agencies from Sunland, Anthony, not just here, close by there, but outside. It is something that's celebrated nationally, where law enforcement families come out, and we have goodies to give away. We had Messiah Fire out there as well. The kids were putting on the hats and the jackets, and we were teaching them about fingerprinting. So it was a good event. These are just some of our trainings that we get to do throughout the year. This is why I'm dressed like this. I'm just coming back from a training this morning. This is the Shop with the Cop event from last year, which we will be participating in this year as well. And just some more of the community events we do throughout the year. This is Fish with the Cop. We got to do at Young's Park. La Clinica Familia, our school resource officers went out there and got to participate with the families out there. And also Career Day, which is one of the big events that we like our school resource officers to participate in. And if you don't already know, we did welcome 2 new deputies to the Messiah Marshal's Department. They're qualified deputies following successful completion of background checks. The interview process and approval by the Board of Trustees are formally welcome to our Messiah Marshal's Department. That's gonna be Deputy Ornelas and Deputy Sanchez, which this was also posted on our Facebook page. So closing message, I'd like to say, Mesilla may be a small town, but our deputies carry a big workload and great responsibility. We do more with less, fewer people, fewer resources, and no luxury systems, yet high expectations. Deputies stay because they love this community, to include myself, and we believe in its values. With the town support, we can continue improving recruitment, retention, equipment, and training. And I do thank you for your time and for supporting our Mesilla Marshal's office. And this is just at the end. Please take a picture of this. That way, the only way we can do our jobs is if it's recorded properly. So please contact the non-emergency number. Our station is not the way we get dispatched out. And I apologize if there was ever that confusion, because we only have an administrative line and we do not have a full-time admin there at the station. So if you call our station, people have said that they get frustrated. Please call dispatch and you will get a response from us. Please feel free to share, take a photo, or come by the station if you have any questions. And thank you all for your time. If there's any questions.
Thank you, Sergeant. Thank you, Sergeant. Just two notes on here on your presentation for the MERBDA and the non-emergency dispatch. You have the number posted, but if you also go to the website for Mesilla Valley Regional Dispatch, you can submit an online form as well. Just to throw that out there, so you don't have to call the number. That can also be submitted online by that. Because just as many agencies are around the nation per se are filling staffing shortages, so is our regional dispatch. So sometimes that phone for non-emergency in particular does not get answered, but it will be logged and taken care of if those are put online there. You know, and Sergeant, it's great to see. I just want to know all of the events that the department participates in. I think that's a great thing, and I like the events that are happening here. And I think that there's even more events that we can grow within our own community. We've talked about that, and we're working on planning for that. So I look forward to the public safety departments as well as other departments within the town working together to work with our community and in impactful ways. So thank you for that presentation. Trustees?
Any questions?
Trustee Nevada.
I just have a comment. Thank you for the informative presentation, and thank you and the rest of the Marshall staff for what you do for the town of Mesilla.
Great. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you all for your time.
Thank
Sorry
you
if I spoke
again.
too fast.
No, you're great. I appreciate it. Fire Chief.
Mayor and Board, not a lot to say today other than we've been really busy. Just real quick, looking at some numbers. Last 24 hours, we've run 25 calls. We're at 150 for the month, 940 for the year, and 79 of those were transports. But we've been handling everything and we're holding together. So, other than that, got a lot of people that have been in training, and hopefully they're all back from their classes, so that'll help take some of the load off of the people that are staying here. So with that, any questions?
No, you and I just want to note that you and I had some great conversations this morning and going through things, and we need to keep that up because, as I mentioned earlier, my biggest fear with your department in particular is burnout, and we don't need that by any means. So if there is a point where we need to focus on the team, you need to make that call.
The team's been told, and they know, and there have been a couple of times that we've just been unable.
Yeah.
It happens. The whole county area is just getting so busy right now. It just seems like everybody wants to call 911. And it's not my emergency, it's theirs. So whether I think it's an emergency or not, doesn't matter. We still have to go. So, and they all get treated the same. Our crews are very, very good about treating everybody with respect. We may think differently, but everybody's treated well. So the county's working on their staffing issues. They have an academy going through now. They're starting another academy in February, but they're probably 2 years behind where they need to be.
Jeez.
That includes a lot of things, not just firefighters, but there's a lot that they're short on. Long-term for us, you know, the mayor is my plan. We want to be full paid department. I want to have at least 3 people on 24 hours a day. Because even just having, the big of a boon has just been having one person on. He can't drive the ambulance and take care of the patient by himself. Somebody has to go with him. So 2 o'clock in the morning is either DC Morris or my wife and I running on those calls. So it just is what it is. But thank you all for your support. The department loves everybody. I will be sending out a notice to you all for our holiday event. We'd like you all to attend. It'll be, we have 2 days we're working on. It'll be in the evening. It'll be a pop-up. So thank you.
I did
Sorry,
want to make a.
Fire chief. Hold on.
Yeah, did want to make a comment because, yeah, late Saturday afternoon, you guys were busy because the sirens were just down Calle Norte, just like one right after the other.
Sure felt like
Yeah, well,
It was.
I feel like I'm hearing
Yeah.
them a lot more than
yeah,
I'm
I
just
mean,
like-
Saturday afternoon, late Saturday.
I'm thinking, oh
Yeah.
gosh, they're out again. I mean, that's what my thought is.
It did. It was one after the other.
it was like that this morning. I think we had 9 calls by 11 o'clock in the morning, starting, I don't know, 6 or 7. And it was just, they were stacked up pretty long, pretty hard.
I think we had 3 or 4 while you and I were sitting there alone. So going to our.
And we had the one right now, but luckily the other crew, they started to go, but the other crew just got back from the other call. So they really tried the risk to take that call. Thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate you.
Yes.
Yeah. Public Works.
Overload.
Mr. Storga. Dun, 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 dun.
Mayor, Board of Trustees, I don't have a lot also either, just, to piggyback off of, Mayor Hernandez, I am working on a lot of the stuff, quotes here for Veterans Park and, you know, all that, to bring that all back up to par, you know, so that's coming along. I'll have that in shortly and, you know, in our hands, so that way we can move forward and get that back where we need to get it. The Calle del Norte phase 3 has started. They did already break up concrete there, and they already have one of the big 18-inch pipes underneath there buried and ready to bring the cement back up. So it's anticipated to probably finish. They had a little bit of a setback having to drain some of that. There was still water inside that tube, inside the tube underneath the street. So when they did break up, water did come up. So that's why it's going to be sidetracked for a little bit, but it's going to be anticipated to finish in the middle of December, and with everything covered.
Wow,
Yeah, so all of
that's
that.
nice.
University, it's the same old, you know, updates. I haven't really got a true update monthly from them yet. So when I do, I'll go ahead and report on that. And we just regular maintenance and getting ready for the Christmas tree lighting here. We're getting all that ready, and also did participate in the turkey give out the other day, about a week ago. My staff and along with Mayor and Dorothy from the events, you know, we all went out there, did our thing, and, you know, feels good to do that for my part anyways. So,
Yes, sir.
anyways, I stop for any questions.
Trustees. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Lorenzo.
Economic and Community Development, Mr. Salazar.
Everybody says that you don't have much and then they have a lot. Right? I'll try to make it quick. We've been working on ordinances. I mean, that usually does take quite a bit of time. I probably do some research about back attorneys and such. Alongside that, the last meeting I mentioned that we do have a approval, the board approved the GSI software. I just got contacted back from our DSI, which is our IT techs about being able to put that in our computers, in our software. And GSI, why is that important? All municipalities in the sense are using it, and it's a central program or software that it's the foundation of the municipality they put. Right now, we're starting to use it for a historic registry, a local historic registry we're gonna put together. With the approval of the COG resolution, you all did tonight, thank you for that. But not just historic buildings, it goes anywhere from maintenance, public works, goes to fire department with the fire hydrants, and it just maps everything in our municipality. And I think, again, we're excited to get that off the ground and in our computers, so we can start working on that. I did receive a call from one of the residents concerned about an accident that was on Bout Street, on one of the laterals. I guess it's called a head wall, where the cement structures are on each side of the road. It's been hit quite a few times. I went out there and did a site visit and took some pictures, and it's in pretty bad shape. So I contacted the EBID, and they referred me to Doña Ana County. Doña Ana County is responsible for repairing that, so I'm waiting back to hear from them to see when that's going to be resolved. We are going to be here hopefully in December. We having a hearing regarding the signage. We did talk a little bit about the signage with the planning and zoning. We're going to focus on each particular zones. We're going to focus first on the commercial zone, about our signage, amending our ordinances. I believe the ad hoc the mayor assigned. They're working on that in the sense. Haven't got much feedback about that, but sometimes no news is good news. But we do have we did talk about it with the Peace Act. We do have an agenda or map that we did put together, and we're just going to finalize that. Hopefully we can get that going in December. Also along with that is the university project, the height or the concerns of the residents that they have with the security and the privacy of that grade of that trail being elevated. I did speak with the attorney, and he did mention we did work together as far as how to come about resolving that, at least help resolve that, and that's a matter of being able to measure the wall from the outside. Therefore, wherever the grade, the trail is at, that way it's consistent all the way through all the way from McDowell to, what's the last street?
Bowman.
Bowman, exactly. It was a concern before because that properties there are fluctuating, and you try to say 6 feet, they still able to look in, and then, so we talked about that. So anyway, in December, hoping to have that hearing and then recommend any kind of recommendations to the board of trustees for that. Other than that, that's all I have. Any questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Everybody get
Clap.
applause.
The audit is being finished up. They have requested a few more documents. We've submitted them. So we're close to the end, so keep your fingers crossed. And our GRT came in really well, really great. Okay, so I think it was like 40,000 more than last year at this time.
Great.
That's good. Thank you, Ms. Maya. Trustee Nevares.
Yeah, I just want to follow up about the dogs. They're on the kind of soon because they are on the roadway. And one time I was driving there, and one of the dogs just laid in the roadway. It wouldn't move, and so I'm concerned about the welfare of those dogs. They're just, one of these days it might be it.
Otherwise,
So it's better to see how, if that could be addressed.
yeah. And we'll work with the marshals department but I think that if the dogs, I will note on that, since you brought it up, and I was going to touch on it just here in a little bit, but to touch on it now, that if the dogs are aggressive, make sure that you're calling that non-emergency number, or if not, then going online and doing that online. That way it's logged every single time, because every time that's logged, it gives the accountability and the follow-up for when, like, if it comes to my office specifically, I'm able to follow up on that with the marshals department. So the more that it's in there, the higher the accountability on that. So just on a side note. Anything else, Trustee? Sorry.
No, that's it. Thanks.
Thank you for bringing that up as well. Trustee Johnson Burek.
No, I just want to wish everyone a very happy and wonderful Thanksgiving with your loved ones. So thank you for all you do. Thank you. That's all.
Thank you, Trustee. Trustee Cadena.
Yeah, I just want to thank everybody, the staff and people that come to these meetings all the time, that you keep coming, and to have a very safe and good holiday season for sure. And to encourage people to come to the nacimientos at the site, because it's going to be really beautiful and really good for the community. That's all I have.
Thank you, Trustee. I appreciate that. I'll keep it short. I promise. I'm not going to go crazy like I normally do, but I'm not guaranteeing anything. All right. I just the couple of things that in the town that I just want to share, because the last time that we had a meeting, the day after that, we did have our Veterans Day celebration that we did at Veterans Park, and I want to say thank you to Trustee Johnson Burek as well as Trustee Cadena for attending and being a part of that event. But really a huge shout out to resident Ron Burek, because he did, as I had mentioned in the last meeting, we are incorporating new traditions, if you will, into some of our events. And this one, for Veterans Day, we're ensuring that we have our keynote speaker, but we also want to have a resident keynote speaker. So moving forward, we will have, at every celebration, we'll have a resident keynote. And so our inaugural was Ron Burek, and he did a great job. So I'm very proud of that guy for sure. And a shout out to Andala's restaurant as well, because they did provide lunch to all of the veterans that did attend, and it was a very well attended event with a couple of dignitaries in person as well, which is great to have that love on our little community for such a very positive forward event. As it was mentioned by Lorenzo, putting together and delivering our holiday meals to our community. A shout out, of course, to Dorothy, Jacob, our public works team, Lorenzo, Chris, Dorothy. But more so, it takes a community to do this. And shout out to Catherine Walkinshaw for coming and helping and putting those baskets together the morning of. Because it does take a community to bring this together, and we all have a hand in that. And let me tell you, when we delivered those to the school, well, we weren't giving them to the students and to the families directly. Just like in seeing Miss Amalia, who I know many of us know at Missy Elementary, and seeing her and saying, "This is my favorite time of year because we see all this and we get to make families happy." And that's the point of our community, that we have such a great thing with that. And great shout out to all of the businesses and residents who contributed to make that day of sharing possible, and in a great support for 50 different for 50 baskets to be made to give out to individuals. We did have extra goods that came in to support, and those were donated to San Albino to give out to other community members as well. So in that, it's in the spirit of giving, and that's what's great. I do also want to note a couple of other things, is that it was recommended because I've been having many meetings and one-on-ones with residents, especially over the past couple of weeks, and I encourage that. My door is always open. My phone is always on. Please call set up that time with me at any point in time. I want to always be available as that. One of the things that was requested though is to constantly be trying to post and share updates about what we're working on specifically because it's not being done as much. So I will work with the team as well as myself to get out there to show the updates on some of these projects and have the listings as I've shared in here this evening and continually keep that communication flowing on that side. Um, same probably with the presentations as they've been provided, because we did have a great presentation at the last meeting. For those of you that recall that were in attendance from the fire department, so I'll get in a point where we're posting those presentations online, and then we'll probably have the ability with future updates to just have them scrolling and rolling constantly on a television here within the town hall. That way they can be viewed at any given point in time. Upcoming events that I do want to note for the electeds more than anything, I'll get that in the agenda on the next one. But there is a newly elected training that is scheduled by the municipal league that is on January 13th and January 14th. And then Molly level 1 training that will be January 14th and 15th. Municipal Day in Santa Fe is scheduled for February 4th and 5th. So put those on your calendars if you're able to attend. I highly recommend that. I just submitted my paperwork to the league to receive my Molly certification because I met all the credit requirements for that. So hopefully that gets approved and moving forward. So recommend all of those trainings because they are highly beneficial, very informative, and good information all the way around. Plus a great networking opportunity to meet other electeds across the entire state. So, and all of that. And with that, unless there is objection, I will call this meeting as adjourned. Yeah.
Yay!
8:38.